Let me tell you, nobody dreams of spending their golden years in a battle with gravity and bureaucracy, but sometimes life just laughs at your plans. Picture this: 25 years in the Army, 10 of those years ducking mortars overseas, and another 5 filling out paperwork so thick I'd wake up quoting inventory codes in my sleep, and all I wanted, when it was finally over, was a little peace. Not much, just a quiet A-frame on a ridge, overlooking Millstone Hollow, where the air stayed wild, the grass grew tall and yellow, and nobody cared if you stacked your firewood in neat rows or let the porch creak with age. Yeah, I thought I'd finally found it, the kind of peace that hums soft in your bones. There weren't any street lamps humming all night, no barking dogs, no sirens, just wind brushing the grass and the old oaks stretching their branches in the morning light. I bought that place with cash. The cabin sat just over the county line, perched above a little sea of identical houses, all part of a shiny HOA, their roofs lined up like helmets at parade rest. Down there, everything was clipped, sprayed, identical, but up on my ridge, untouched. The land had belonged to a reclusive surveyor before me. Man was obsessed, left behind boxes of hand-drawn maps, notes, Polaroids taped to manila folders, decades of topographical scribbles. I kept them, not because I planned to use them, but because I got it, the comfort in knowing every inch, every line, owning it with your eyes before your wallet. And most important, I lived outside their gates, outside their rules. No, HOA on my land. I liked it that way. Maybe that's what started all this, the invisible wall between their control and my freedom. At first, I kept to myself, fixing up the place, chopping wood, patching the deck with my own hands. My mornings were simple. Up before dawn, coffee in hand, walking the perimeter, reading the earth for tracks and shifts. Soil's old on that ridge, clay hiding beneath the loam, prone to fast runoff if you weren't careful. So, I planted ground cover, stacked fieldstone, did what needed to be done. Not just maintenance, respect. The folks down below rarely wandered up my way. Maybe a polite wave at the hardware store, a nod on the trail, but there was always a line, like their paved paths ended at the edge of what they could control. Suited me fine. At least, until that drone showed up, buzzing over my land one afternoon like a mechanical mosquito, slicing through my peace. I watched it trace a tight pattern, then zip back toward the valley like it had found what it came for. A week later, orange flags started popping up near my southern boundary, metal pins staked right in the grass, a childish little dare. I knew exactly what it meant. Somebody was plotting grades, making plans. I followed the line of flags, each one tracing a gentle curve down the hill toward the cluster of homes, straight to the HOA Clubhouse, sitting at the foot of the natural runoff path. My gut knotted up. I'd seen this kind of thing before, just in different uniforms, quiet incursions, bureaucratic smiles, consultants in nice shoes taking what wasn't theirs. So, I pulled up one of those flags, stuffed it in my pocket, and hiked back to the cabin. That night, I spread the old topo maps across my table, running my finger along the lines and notes, the slope, the runoff, the warnings in red ink. My hunch wasn't just paranoia, it was fact. Next morning, I drove down to the HOA office. Their clubhouse looked like something out of an architecture magazine. Glass and steel, trying too hard. The place smelled like printer ink and lemon cleaner. The girl at the desk didn't know what to do with a guy like me. Boots, flannel, asking straight about land use. Out comes Karen Risson, acting HOA president. Red blazer, heels clicking, smile tight as a tourniquet. "We're so glad you stopped by," she chirps. I hand her the orange flag. Plain and simple. "What are you doing on my land?" She doesn't blink, says it's part of a runoff study, helping me by redirecting water from my hill so it won't threaten their shiny new patio. "That's my land," I tell her. She folds her hands like a Sunday school teacher, explains I'm outside HOA bounds, but runoff from my property affects the common area, so their engineers decided this was safest. Translation? They're guiding the water, not modifying my land. Sure, that's when I realized this wasn't just arrogance. This was people who thought they were the law, not because they were right, but because nobody ever told them they weren't. I didn't yell. Just let her know my attorney would be in touch. Her smile cracked, just a second, but she nodded. Of course, Mr. Merrick. We always welcome neighborly input. Uh-huh. Sitting in my truck afterward, I stared at the hill they were messing with, forces they didn't understand. Nature doesn't care about property lines, and deep down I knew this wasn't over. A few days later, I did my usual morning round, coffee perimeter walk. Sun not quite up yet. Everything soft and quiet, except the earth past the southern slope was different, disturbed, excavated. Shallow trenches zigzagged just beyond my markers. Tire tracks, fresh mud. Whoever did it didn't even bother to clean up. They'd cut water channels, not toward the natural stream, but straight down into the HOA clubhouse. They wanted to catch and redirect the rain that fell on my land, funnel it through the development. And they'd ignored everything. The fragile clay, the old man's terracing, years of soil care. Just bulldozed it. I went back to my cabin shaking, not from fear, but from a focused, cold anger I hadn't felt since Afghanistan. Pulled out my incident protocol folder, a habit from years of field reporting, and documented everything. Photos, old USGS reports stamped, unstable under subsurface saturation, warnings about structural changes. Wrote a formal cease and desist, lawyer speak, civil code, the works, and delivered it to the HOA in person. Karen wasn't in. A guy named Brad Whitmore, facilities manager, signed a receipt. Looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. That night, more trucks showed up at the bottom of the hill. Lights off, flashlights moving, digging again. No permits, no erosion control, just two guys with shovels, acting like kings in the dark. I called the county the next morning. Any filings for trenching or water projects near Parcel 33B? Nothing. No permits, no reports, not even a flood impact assessment. I tried to attend their open board meeting, but when I showed up, the door was locked. The meeting had been changed to invitation only. I was being shut out. So I did what I do best, documented everything. Used my own drone to sweep the ridge, GPS tags, timestamps. Uploaded everything, soil maps, HOA website screenshots, meeting changes. Then I called Elena Matthews, an old friend, retired environmental compliance officer. She listened as I laid it out. Trenches through an unstable clay ridge, no drainage grid, no riprap. She understood immediately. One good storm, and the whole slope could collapse, clubhouse and all. She promised to flag the floodplain authority, unofficial for now, but it was something. But warnings only work if someone's listening, and these folks? Locked doors, night digging, silence from the board. They were building their own disaster, one trench at a time. Then the twist, a certified letter from the HOA legal division, which, by the way, doesn't exist, said my surveillance and public accusations constituted harassment. They bolded the word, accused me of defamation. It was textbook projection. I'd seen it overseas. When you get close to the truth, the first move is always to flip it, make you the aggressor, make you seem unstable. So I scanned the letter, filed it, and headed to county records. That's when I found the bombshell. The HOA had filed a new easement proposal, requesting permission for a subterranean drainage path along the South Ridge. Their plat map erased my property line altogether. They were rewriting the land itself. I sent my deed, surveys, and maps to the county assessor, who confirmed the HOA's plat was doctored, flagged for review, but bureaucracy is slow. I was on my own. That night, I wrote a warning letter for every neighbor, laid out the unauthorized trenching, unstable slope, geological risks, photos, maps, even a QR code to my drone footage. By 7 a.m., every bulletin board in Millstone Hollow had a copy. By noon, the HOA had ripped them all down, and by 3, I was banned from entering the neighborhood. They put a kid in a security vest at the gate. When I asked what he was guarding, he shrugged. They said you try and scare people. I just shook my head. They should be scared. The upper bank was already slumping, cracks showing where the clay bulged. Still, they laughed it off. At the next town council meeting, Karen called me a recluse with an unhealthy obsession with topography. But you could hear the tremor in her voice. A few residents started asking real questions about the trenches, the secrecy, the missing newsletters. Karen dodged, blame contractors, never once said the word slide. I stood up and offered to show the drone footage. She froze. You're not a resident. But the water you redirected is coming from my land. The room went silent. Then I'll let gravity speak for me, I said and walked out. A storm rolled in a few days later. Rain soft at first, then heavy, soaking the clay. That's when I noticed a new cut, 5 feet long, right on my side of the boundary. They'd pushed the trench uphill. Fresh tool marks, loose earth. I called the sheriff. Deputy Alicia Ward came out, rain jacket pulled tight. She listened, nodding, lips thin. Technically, she said, if they cross your parcel and alter the land, that's trespass, maybe civil nuisance. Proving intent is tougher. I pointed to the fresh trench. You want intent? It's written in the mud. That night, more trucks, more digging. No permits, no company names, just desperation. I filmed everything, sent it to Elena. Her reply came quick. Catastrophe waiting to happen. Rain tonight will liquefy the clay. And she was right. At 2:47 a.m., the power cut out. The rain, once gentle, battered the roof. I stepped outside, mud sucking at my boots, lightning strobing the sky. Water poured down the southern ridge, not west as it always had, but straight into their trenches. I ran to the old stone marker. A crack had opened, 3 feet wide, running alive. I radioed Elena. It's happening. She didn't even ask what. Get off the southern edge, she said. That whole face is going. I crouched on the observation deck, watching through my scope. A low rumble, like thunder but meaner, rolled under my feet. The ridge split open. Trees snapped, and a massive chunk of hillside peeled away. Earth roots, stones, all sliding down in a tidal wave of mud. The clubhouse vanished, swallowed whole. Then silence. Just the rain hissing over what was left. Next morning, nothing but a wasteland. Mud, broken beams, Karen's white SUV half buried, her vanity plate just visible. The storm kept falling, but the news spread faster than water. By noon, residents were up at the edge, some shocked, some crying, some angry. Brad showed up, hair plastered down, shoes caked in mud, saw me on the ridge, and stormed up. You did this, he hissed. I didn't move. You altered an unstable slope in the wet season with no permits. You buried your own clubhouse. He turned and stomped away. Guilt never sits quietly. It always makes noise trying to escape. County officials, news vans, even FEMA arrived. The HOA website went dark. The board tried to regroup, but with Karen gone and Brad under investigation, it unraveled quick. A public meeting at the gym drew a crowd. Brad tried to play it off, but when I laid out every warning, every ignored map, every drone photo, the judge just shook his head. If more landowners documented like you, my docket would be cut in half. Then he dissolved the HOA, barred the board from serving again, and put the whole site under county protection. That day, standing outside the courthouse, sky finally clearing, I felt something shift, not triumph, not even relief. Just the weight of inevitability lifting because the land had spoken and for once people listened. But blame comes easy when the truth's heavy. I got letters, lawsuits, threats, accusations. Anonymous flyers on my gate. But you know what? I'd carried heavier burdens. I kept documenting, kept sharing the truth, and eventually the tide turned. Residents started showing up, asking questions, wanted to learn. Some even thanked me. Others still saw villains where there were only warnings. In the end, the land healed faster than the people. The ridge is a protected watershed now. No building, just wild grasses and a single trail. Kids run up, ask if I'm a hill guy. I tell them, yeah, I guess I am. There's a bench down by the only pine that survived the slide. Carved from cedar, simple plaque. The earth does not forget, and neither should we. So here's my question. If you made it this far, what would you have done? Would you stand your ground if the whole world called you paranoid? Or let it go and pray the storm misses you? Tell me below. Let's hear what you think about justice, about land, about what it takes to be heard when nobody wants to listen. Because in the end, truth is like the earth. It waits, layer by layer, until someone finally stops to see it.